Bom dia, good morning, colleagues. And we'd like to ask Dr. Charles Chikunda to start us off, if possible.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Preven. Let me quickly check. Do we have Agua in the room?
He is running a bit late. Charles, he says he'll be there. Yes.
I was relaxed because he was the one chairing. Anyway, I can take it up until he comes. So let me quickly check. Good. Can you hear me? Preven, can you confirm?
Charles, we can hear you loud and clear, and the agenda on display.
Let me check, is the translation also working well? Can I talk so that we can check translation?
Not yet. Just hold on once this set translation.
Is Antonio with us?
I think there is no translation. Switched on to Portuguese, but I'm not hearing any sound.
Yes, hold on one second.
Yes, please check with Antonio.
Okay, we'll begin shortly.
Okay.
I think Agua is back.
Bon dia, Agua. Agua, can you hear me?
Good morning.
How is your connection? Because today you are chairing. I want to find how is your connection.
Not so bad.
Not bad.
I think it is so bad. That's what he's saying.
Bad today. Yes. Why they are in trouble?
No, we can hardly hear you.
Can someone
Or maybe Agua, I can. Agua,
The sound is bad, Charles. So I'm thinking you should just chair.
okay.
Sorry,
Yeah,
my
I'm
sound
just-
is bad on this side as well.
Yes.
Okay. So Agua, wait, let me chair.
Share.
Yes, I'm going to chair on your behalf.
Yes.
I'm just quickly
Oh,
checking.
Okay.
We
Thanks a lot.
fine, thanks,
sorry?
Agua. That's fine.
Okay,
I'll chair on your behalf. Good. Preven, please let us know. Do we now have Antonio on?
We're trying to contact Antonio. He is online. We're just checking what's the problem at the moment.
Good morning, Antonio. If you can maybe please just say something so that we can test your mic. Antonio, I see you're unmuted. Okay, I think there's a problem there. We'll try and resolve it.
Tony,
Okay.
can you maybe just log out and come back in on your panelist link, and we can reset you.
Antonio?
He's just logged out, Zane.
Oh, I thought it's back in. Sorry.
Antonio's online. Let me just try to set him. Hold on. Oh, okay. Good. Can we test the translation, Antonio, please? Very, very good. We've set you up for the translation. Can you translate to Portuguese for me, this lines?
Good.
Wonderful.
Preven,
Thank you.
Preven, looks like we're set to go. Thanks, Preven. Thanks, Sandy.
Okay.
Good.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let's begin, Charles.
Colleagues, good morning once more. I'm chairing on behalf of Agua, who is our reference group member from Mozambique. Unfortunately, his connection is not that good this morning, so I quickly jumped in for him. Today, the purpose of this webinar is for us to get the experiences of other sustainable starts with teachers groups that we've had. For example, remember, we said we started in 2019 with 3 countries. That is Namibia, Botswana, and Zimbabwe. Then in 2020, with 3 more countries, Zambia, South Africa, and Lesotho. And in 2021, 3 more countries, Tanzania, Malawi, and Eswatini. So we've chosen 1 representative, 1 reference group member from those 3 codes, just to give us some experiences so that you can also learn from the experiences. So I'm glad to introduce the first one, who is Dr. Sirka from Namibia. She has been in ESD since the day she was born. So she's not new. She participated in all the ESD or SST or environmental activity that I know in the region. So Sirka, maybe at the beginning, you can briefly introduce yourself, who you are, where do you work, then you can take it up and give us your story covering the 2019 experience. Over to you, Sirka.
Thank you, Charles. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. But before I introduce myself, I'm not so sure whether I have a right link because the link that I have does not make provision for me to be able to share screen.
Preven?
Co-host now. Okay. 1 second.
Okay, while Preven is sorting that out, yes, thanks for the introduction. So I'm Sirka Chiningayamwe, editor at the University of Namibia, based in Windhoek. And as Charles said, I am in. I have a lot of experience in environmental education because that's where my PhD, for example, is situated. And my focus and research work really is around teacher education and education for sustainable development. So I look forward to being part of this panel, and I hope the participants will learn from the experiences that I will share from our 2019 cohort. Okay.
Should be able to share
Charles,
now.
can you still hear me? Preven? Sorted me out.
Yes, we can hear you, and you should be able to share.
Sorry,
now.
Preven?
We can hear you.
But it doesn't give me. How do I share? Okay, how do
share?
I share? Because I don't see share. So maybe there is a different way on this end. Because there's no share screen option.
Really? Okay. On the bottom of your panel, there's no next to chat.
No, there's only polls, more question and answer, then participants.
Okay, very strange. Could you just email it to me? The presentation.
I actually was trying to, but it says it's a bit big, so I can see it's slow because I tried to email it earlier before we started because I saw that I didn't have the share screen option, but it says the file is large. It's trying to send you through a Google link, but it's going very slow.
Okay. I'm not sure why you cannot share as co-host. It should be giving you that option.
And maybe we can let Tiffany or somebody else go while you try to solve the technical problems with Circa.
Okay, thanks, Prof.
Yeah.
So would you be able to
Yeah.
do that, and then I'll have your presentation ready after.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's
So
fine because maybe by then you will also have received my presentation if I'm not
Oh.
able to share from this end.
Okay, Circa. No problem. Thank you.
Okay, so apologies for that, colleagues. Let me move on. Professor Shumba, I hope you are ready.
Charles, Professor Shumba couldn't join us, so we have Makumo Hela today and Circa and Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Yes.
So Tiffany, can you shout, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Good, good. Colleagues, we are now moving to the 2021 group. We'll go back to the 2019 group. So Tiffany is from Malawi. She will introduce herself, but she was the reference group member for Malawi in that 2021 cohort. So over to you, Tiffany. Can you briefly introduce yourself? Then you take us through your story.
All right. Thank you very much, Charles, and thanks for all the organizers. My name, as Charles has already said, is Tiffany Banda. I'm from Malawi. I'm a lecturer at the University of Malawi, but currently pursuing my postdoc at the University of the Free State. And I am the RGM for Malawi, and so we've been working with the Malawi team on the SST program of 2021. I just wanted to find out if you can see my presentation.
Yes, we can see it, Tiffany. Just go to full screen.
All right. Let's see. Yeah. Is that okay?
Looks good. Perfect.
All right. Yeah. So as Sirika has said, I think my duty this morning is just to share with you the experience that we had as one of the countries that was involved in the Sustainability Starts with Teachers for 2021. So it's kind of an overview report. And what I'm going to share with you is how it all began. So I'm going to run you through the whole process of how we did ours, and I'll mention some of the challenges that we came across, as well as the lessons that we have drawn from the whole experience, which I'm wishing and I'm hoping you would benefit from. And so that's the 2021 Malawi chapter. For those of you that are not familiar with where Malawi is, and I'm happy that we have Mozambique in the group, and we are neighbors. So bon dia to Mozambicans and those from Angola. And so, as I said, I'm going to I'm going to start with how it all began. And just like it is with you, we also started with a workshop just like you're having now. And the workshop that we had, the first workshop that we had was on the 23rd and 24th of March in 2021. And so this workshop saw participants coming from different teacher education institutions. We aimed at targeting teacher educators as well as TVET instructors. But then during the first workshop that we had, the majority of them were teacher educators. And so we held this workshop, which attracted about 14 plus institutions. And so at the end of the workshop, when evaluating how it went, we noticed the gap in terms of the participation of the TVET institution. And so a couple of months after that, in July, we had a special workshop that targeted the TVET institutions. And so it was some kind of a compressed kind of workshop similar to this one, but mainly targeting the TVET institutions. And then what happened between the two workshops, because we'd already done the workshop with the teacher educators, what we decided on doing is to immediately set up some form of some networking platform where we can share information and see what each one is doing. So in May of 2021, we set up a WhatsApp group for ease of communication, and it's been growing. So currently we have about 116 members, and that really helped us in terms of communicating, because we noticed that communicating through emails or through phones and other forms was a bit difficult. The most convenient one was through WhatsApp messaging. And then in August of 2021, the ESD online registration was opened. And so even the communications regarding the online workshops and feedback from the workshops that we had, the SST orientation workshop that we've done, were all done during the using the WhatsApp platform. And by the 3rd of August, 2021, what we did was we had the different institutions that were represented to come up with their own community of practice list. So in each institution, they had to come up with a list of people that were part of the SST program. And so by the 3rd of August, we had all this set up, and this was also done for ease of communication when you want to communicate specifically to different institutions. By the 10th of August, application documents had been submitted. So each institution had to submit some documents, a package of an application pack that they compiled as institutions. And by the 10th of August, everyone had submitted. And so the next step was where participants started registering for the online course. And this went on well. We had a few technical hitches because for most of the participants, it was their first time to engage with online issues and virtual learning, and so there were those technical hitches. But then, thankfully, there was a proper and a strong support system, both from Rhodes University and even from within ourselves. Through the same platform of the WhatsApp platform, we were able to inform each other when people were having technical hitches with registering, such that at the end of the day, most of the participants had managed to apply to register for the online course. By the 11th of August, about 18 institutions, including teacher education institutions and TVET institutions, had signed up for the online course. And in the week of the 24th of August to 10th of September, the organizers of the course set up an online webinar, and this was part of supporting the participants, so supporting us as people who were taking part in both the online learning or the online course, as well as the change project that we were supposed to come up with, which I'm sure you've discussed a lot about in the days before. And so the weeks of between the 24th of August and 10th of September, we used to meet every Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays between 11 a.m. and 1 o'clock, where different topics, different areas were being presented. And all these areas that were being presented were such that we're supposed to strengthen our knowledge and kind of support us in our journey as we went on with the online course. And this we found so helpful. And so during this same period, the Fridays were set apart for learner support. So for those that had specific issues with the online course that were struggling, they used to meet on this Friday with the technical people from who were organizing the course, and they would run them through the issues that they were struggling with. And so for the most part, this was kind of helpful because it was through that most of us made progress with our online course. And then in September, by September, we had discussed with the different institutions and asked them to come up with ideas of what their change projects were supposed to be. And so by this time, institutions had come up with ideas of what their change projects were supposed to be based on their institutions. And of course, these were the preliminary ideas. And as we went by, and especially with the more we engaged with the online course, the more we realized or we refined the ideas that we had of our change project. Because in most cases, some of them were so broad, and some of them had, of course, they had the ESD element to it, but it wasn't like tying in to what the proper change project was supposed to look like. And so even though the institutions had come up with these ideas, the ideas were like work in progress, and they were being refined as time went by. And then from the following the completion of the webinar sessions that we had in September, we set up cluster meetings. So as different countries, so in the 2021 group, we had Malawi, Eswatini, and Tanzania. So during the August-September webinars, it was all three countries meeting together. But then after the September ones, we used to meet as country clusters. And so for Malawi, we chose a day that was convenient for most of the people. And for most of the participants, Mondays were the most convenient ones. And because of differences in people's schedules and everything else, we decided to have two time options. So participants could either attend the morning session, which was from 11, or the evening session, which was from 7 p.m. And later on in the course of the year, in October, we had a similar online webinar, which also was on update on keeping us abreast with what was there, and also tackling some of the areas that were to do with where they assumed we were at in terms of our progress on the online course. And so this I looked at as the support system that we had in terms of us working on both the online course as well as the initiatives that we had set up for our change projects. And so I've talked about the cluster meetings that we had, which I also called family meetings, where we used to meet Mondays from 11, either from 11, the morning session at 11, or the evening session at 7. And there were a number of things that we would discuss during these meetings. So one of the things that would come up during these meetings, or that was part of the agenda, was where participants were asked to give a report on the progress that they were making on both on their change project as well as on their online courses. And so each institution represented was supposed to at least say something about what they were doing, where they were at. And following the presentations that each institution gave, they were given feedback. So it was being encouraged that each one of them should be able to critique the work of the other in order to refine it. And so it wasn't just the duty of myself as the RGM to give feedback. It was for each one of them, because it was also a good way of them. Yes.
Sorry. We're having problems with the Portuguese interpretation on the Portuguese side. There's nothing on your side. We just want to ask Antonio to please check his system, or if there's anything he can do on his side to make it more smoother. Just give us a few minutes. Apologies, colleagues.
Yes, I can hear you, Antonio.
Okay.
It looks like Antonio is back on.
I think some of our colleagues on the were reporting on the chat that there's some problems, and then we've been hearing some stopping and starting. It's much better now. So let us try to begin again.
Can I continue then?
Yes, Antonio. Yeah, it's just, I think it's just sound. It's just been dipping in and out. But let's try one.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. So I was talking about the cluster family meetings that we had. So the main things on the agenda was where participants were expected to share progress on their change project initiatives, as well as how they were doing with the online course. And from whatever they presented, the other participants were encouraged to give some critical feedback. So I was saying, instead of expecting myself as the RGM or as the lead person to give feedback, we opted for a participatory kind of interaction where everyone was supposed to chip in, because what we agreed on was the fact that we engaged or were part of the online course. There were certain things that we knew about that would inform on what people's experiences were with the change projects, and even the way they were going about their online course. So that we found as being helpful. And then part of the agenda was also where participants would express the challenges that they had working with the online course. So for some, it probably was issues of internet connectivity and other things, or sometimes maybe even understanding what the content was. So we would have some kind of a discussion forum where certain aspects that were not clear in the online course were just being brought up, and so people were able to discuss some of those things.
Sorry, Tiffany. Sorry, Antonio, it's really getting bad now. It is just stopping and starting on the Portuguese side. On the English side, it seems to be fine. Maybe you can you try to come in and out again? Maybe we can reset you. Apologies, colleagues. Let's just try to get the Portuguese translation working properly.
Yes, that's important, Preven. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Antonio. Can we do a test run? Antonio, you muted. Can we try again? Good. Thank you. Yes, it seems to be clear, but some are experiencing low quality. Okay, let's try the Portuguese again. Can we do a test run? Colleagues?
It's improved, Preven, eh? I think it has improved.
It has improved, yes.
Yeah.
Charles, thank you, Antonio. Dr. Banda, you can continue.
All right, thank you very much. So I'll move on to the next one. So we discussed the challenges, and then as I already said, we would sometimes work through the various sections of the course as a cluster, just to make sure that we're on the same page. And in terms of the progress on the online course, first completions began showing up during February of 2022. So after registering in August, people were able to start completing their online courses, which was something very encouraging. And so as someone that was leading, I decided to also lead by example. So that's proof that I did the course. So I completed the course, and it was a hurrah moment. And then with regards to the online course, people were still working on it, and the completion was a bit staggered because of other issues that I'm going to discuss towards the end. And then I'm going to move on to the change projects. So probably one of the things that I would want to say from the start is that when we were trying to tease out what sort of change projects various institutions were supposed to have, one of the things that we thought we picked from what ESD is all about is about the relevance of whatever change project it is to the issues that affect the various institutions or the various places. So it has to be something that is contextual based, something that is contextually relevant. And so in terms of the Malawi change projects that we had, I think I could group them into three or four categories. So some of the change projects had more to do with transformation of pedagogical approaches. And then the other change projects had to do with addressing environmental issues and issues of which we're going to talk about, as well as community engagement. And so the slide that's showing there is about examples of what sort of transformative changes that were put or that were integrated into their curriculums or in their practices in institutions. And so we see where, unlike the traditional curriculum in most institutions, where it's lecture based, so it's teacher centered, what most of these change projects incorporated within their teaching and learning was the idea of involving the learners or involving the students or the teacher trainees in whatever they were doing, or the TVET students or learners. And examples are where they instead of focusing on much on lecture method, it was more of discussion. So they would have focus group discussions, discussing certain things and discussing issues that affected them as an institution or in the community. And so in the first section, for example, it's where they're discussing issues of inclusive education as groups, as in groups. So students, teacher educators are in groups and they're discussing those. And then later on, there are those hands-on kind of teaching and learning where they are using different resources or different items from the surroundings to come up with issues. So this is all part of what wasn't there before, which through the knowledge and insight that they got from the online courses, as well as the orientation that we had, the initial orientation about what change projects are all about. These are some of the things that some of the institutions decided to incorporate within their institutions. And then the other one was on assessment to learning. So unlike situations where assessment is mainly just based on the theory aspect, there was an introduction of things like hands-on, where students or learners were assessed based on what they were supposed to, what they had learned in theory and trying to actualize it in practice. So you see those things, those different items that learners were coming up with, creative, whether it's teaching and learning aids or other things that they were supposed to come up with, which they were supposed to be assessed on. And so that's the second area of change projects that some of the institutions decided to adopt. And the third area was change projects that had the aim of addressing environmental issues. And so in Malawi, the main environmental issues affecting Malawi include deforestation, sanitation, and the need for the lack of alternative forms of energy, which also leads to deforestation, because there's only a small percentage of people that have access to electricity. So most of them depend on the natural resources, and most of the resources that are exhaustible. And so the lack of alternative resources is one of the challenges. And so some of the change projects that were done in the institutions were those that address those needs. So for example, in the first one, we're looking at where students were coming up with innovative ways of dealing with, for example, issues of sanitation. So waste disposal, you see the bin that is showing there, and even the doormat that is showing there, those are all coming from locally available resources. So instead of purchasing, or instead of using items that are used that come from degradable resources. They used things that are from biodegradable and using more of recycling to come up with waste management items. And the middle one is where they're coming up with alternative sources of energy. So that is a school area where the learners are being taught how to come up with briquettes that are used for cooking, to replace use of firewood or use of the forest or exhausting of the forest. So that one deals with the issue of deforestation. And the last one, also addressing issues of deforestation, is where students or learners are planting trees and trying to address the issues of deforestation. And those are some of the change projects that some of the institutions were involved in. And then with regard to community outreach, there were a number of things that the different institutions were doing. Part of the change projects was where there was need for them to raise awareness. So it wasn't just something that the institution was involved in. So we are doing this just for the institutions. They wanted that to spread it. So the values, the ESD values, for them to spread it, there was need for the community around them to get an awareness of what it was all about, so that they're on the same page. So there were different, like the marches that went on, where people are being informed or being made aware of the importance of the environment and the importance of preserving and conserving the environment. And then on the other side, you have where, upon working with the communities, there is a group of educators, students, as well as members of the community that are taking part in some of the initiatives of planting trees and doing things that would address the issues of the environmental issues that the communities were being faced with. And as I said, we had these 3 countries involved in 2021. So I just didn't want to present about Malawi. I just wanted you to have a snippet of what was happening elsewhere. So I asked my colleague from Eswatini, and she also gave me, those are some of the examples of the change projects that were going on there. So the use of locally available resources to come up with teaching and learning aids and all those things that were happening. And so if you look at it, you find that it wasn't just Malawi, it was others. I wasn't able to collect information from Tanzania, but that's just a snippet of what was happening in other places. In terms of challenges, there are a number of challenges that came up during the course of the program, and one of the bigger challenges was the cost implication. So in terms of accessing of data, it was the first time, as I said, for most of them to engage with virtual learning, and so the cost implication, as you're aware of, the cost of internet and devices to use. So that was a bit of a problem. But as a way of dealing with this issue, what we decided was, at first when it started, people were working individually. And then what we decided in the end, as a way of cutting costs, is where we said, as communities of practice, institutions would have to pull their resources together and work as a team. And so instead of having the same amount of data bundle being used just for one person, you'd use that same amount for 5 people. And then whatever is left off will be used for, so you would cover more ground with less data being used. So that's the challenge that was faced, and that's how we dealt with it. The other challenge that was a bit difficult to get around was the issue of internet connectivity. So in some parts of the country, some of the institutions were situated in places where internet connectivity was a bit difficult, and so it was either erratic or none at all. And so it was difficult for the colleagues in these areas to make as much progress as others that weren't experiencing this challenge we're doing. The other one was the issue of load shedding, and this one especially applied to the cluster meetings that we used to have on Mondays. So there was a time, and I think it's still happening in Malawi right now, where we have problems with electricity, and so sometimes you'd have electricity go off for the whole day. And so if you planned on attending the morning session, or if you planned on attending the evening session, and then electricity goes off, say at 4 and then comes back at 10, chances where you would miss the cluster meeting. But then the good thing about it is that at the end of every cluster meeting, in most of the cluster meetings that we had, there was always a report that went out to brief the people of what was discussed in the cluster meeting. The only drawback probably was that those that missed were unable to chip in. For example, if they had issues or if they had comments, we missed out on whatever contributions they were going to make in the cluster meetings. And then the other challenge that we met, which in part was probably because of the challenge number 2 of internet connectivity. So we experienced some colleagues or some participants dropping out, either because of connectivity challenges or other challenges. But again, the flip side of it was that the community of practices, the different community of practices in the institutions were so proactive in that when as people were dropping out, they would always recruit others to replace them. So in terms of numbers of the people that took part in the project and in the program, it remained almost consistent, because as others would drop out, new members would come in, and so it was it went on that way. Lastly, I will talk about the lessons that I learned from from this whole experience, or that we learned. The first lesson that I learned was the importance of teamwork. So there are those quotes that have come up that I use. So together, everyone achieves more. That's what team as an acronym has been used to come up with. And for us, I think if it was a situation where we were doing this on our own, probably the change project as the group, but the online course on our own, it would have been difficult. We wouldn't have made as much progress as we did. But because of the ability to share each other's experiences, whether challenges or successes, those kind of encouraged us. So even when people started completing the online courses, the online course, others were encouraged. So those that were probably becoming a bit lazy or almost giving up, when they saw that it's possible for others to finish, they were encouraged, and they would do their best to make sure that they finish, to make sure that they're able to finish the online course. So that did help. And then the second one is the ability to inspire others. So as I already said, what we used to do was not just to look up to one person in terms of inspiration. We thought everyone else has experiences, and the experiences that each one of us had were such that others would benefit from. And so there was that opening where people were free to express themselves, to share their experiences, whether good or bad. And from whatever experiences they had, others would learn from it. And so that was one thing that benefited all of us. And then the last one, sorry, the last lesson is how the importance of persistence. So it doesn't matter how slow one gets, as long as you're making progress. So it does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. So, and that's one thing that I would want to encourage those of you that are starting the course now. There are times when you get so crowded up with work, and sometimes you forget you're doing the online course. But as long as whatever small progress you make, or whatever small step you make, as long as it's it's better than what you did earlier, it's progress that is being made. And in the long run, it all culminates to something big and the completion of this. And so what I would want to say probably in closing is that
apologies,
as a country,
Dr. Banda and Antonio, please hold. There's still severe problems with the audio. It's cutting a lot.
Yeah, it's cutting a lot, and maybe it should be taken more slowly. I don't think it's catching up with the pace of presentation as well.
No.
And then the technical issue is very serious.
Yes.
I'm listening in Portuguese. I can't make any sensible statement, coming out.
Yes.
Because it's breaking,
Yeah, it's a technical issue, patience. It's not so much the translation. I think it's
maybe
cutting
too,
in.
if it is slower, maybe again it will be better. I don't know. I'm just suggesting.
On your end, are you able to alter your equipment in any way, or maybe follow a bit slower as patient suggested? Sorry, Antonio. Are you with us?
Yeah, it's a technical issue. And the mic is very sharp. I don't know, somehow.
Yeah, it's just, sorry, Antonio, I didn't hear you. That's you in the Portuguese line. Can you repeat what you said?
It's technical issue.
Yeah. Yes.
Breakthrough.
Yeah. Yes, it's yeah. It's correct, Antonio. The signal is low, and it probably is low with the people who are with us who are finding difficulties as well. So the network is unstable. So we're gonna request Dr. Banda and to go a little bit slow in your presentation so that Antonio can translate at that pace, if possible.
Previn, what do you do to your mic?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
We were hearing you
let
in
me
the
jump
Portuguese in
I
English.
think
there's a technical
Tiffany
issue. But in English, it was not sounding until later on. So I really don't know. Maybe there's a technical thing.
There is a technical
to be
thing
addressed.
Okay, but maybe for now, can Tiffany, can you do your presentations? I know it's almost at the end, a little bit slower to see if that can rectify the issue. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we left off at the lessons that I've learned. So there are those 3 lessons. The first one is the importance of teamwork. And the second one is the importance of being able to inspire others and being inspired by others. And this comes about through the constant interaction that we have as a team. And so as a cluster, what we encourage people and with the cluster meetings is for people to attend, because that is where you were able to voice out whatever issues you're having or share your success story so that others would draw strength from it. And the third one is the idea of not giving up, regardless of how slow one may seem they're going, but as long as they're making progress in the right direction is something that the advice that I would also give to the Mozambique and Angola group that are just going into the program, starting the program. But then all in all, I think it was an interesting and a quite informative experience, both for myself as well as for most of the participants. There's a lot that was learned from it, and a lot that will be carried on, not just for the sake of the online course or for the sake of just getting the certification. The change projects are things that participants are already talking about scaling up and learning, adapting it to making more adaptations to make sure that it fits in well in the institution and it fits in well with the idea of what ESD is all about. And so in closing, I would just like to thank the organizers of the program, UNESCO, and all the organizations that supported this initiative. It's something that is worthwhile, and it is something that is relevant for our time and for our continent at present. And so in closing, I would say thank you for your attention and obrigado pela sua atenção. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much, Tiffany, and thank you very much for taking us through the support system. I think this is one thing that I've really underlined to say the colleagues who are joining the course now should be aware of the support system. And the support system, Rhodes University can do so much, UNESCO can do so much, but some of it became very internal, where people organize themselves for supporting one another in learning and in going through the course and in going through the change projects. Thank you very much for that. And also lessons learned. One big lesson that she showed us how rich it was in this second group. This was our second cohort on online to do the online course. The first one was the 2021, and we learned quite a lot, Hela and the team. Then they came up with other activities to support participants. This is why it became very rich in the 2021 countries, from the lessons learned with the 2020 countries. So thank you very much, Tiffany. Let's move. We still have two more presenters, and colleagues, I want to highlight that Sirika and Makamohele have got roughly 30 minutes between the two of you, because we want some few minutes for question and answer. So please, if you can stick to about 13, 14 minutes so that we can remain with some questions from the audience. So who is ready? Sirika, are you now ready? Can you shout?
Makamahelo is ready.
Good. So let's move on to the 2021 cohort, where we had Lesotho, Zambia, and South Africa. And Makamahelo is the reference group member of Lesotho. So Makamahelo, take it away, introduce yourself, and tell us your story. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chikunda, and good morning, everybody. My name is Makamahelo Nyabela. I'm from Lesotho College of Education. I'm RGM Lesotho. Let me try to see whether I can be able to share the screen. Prevan, can you please share my screen?
Makamahelo, I don't have your presentation. Where is it?
Oh, it is with
Sandy.
Sandy,
Okay.
yes.
Let me just check. I will. And also just a reminder it has been improving. So if you can slow the pace of your presentation, that will help with the translation.
Okay.
Thank you.
No
Okay, I'll
problem.
share.
Okay, this is the team 2020, where the countries, the participating countries were Lesotho, South Africa, and Zambia. And I am RGM Lesotho. So we had our workshop, our in-country workshop that took place in February 2020. And this is where the team that was there at the workshop was the representation of the teacher educators from all the participating institutions and the government officials. Okay, I can pause a bit to wait for the screen. Okay. Can you please start from the beginning? Okay, second. All right. This is when the workshop was held in Maseru in February 2020. And these people represented all the institutions that participated from Lesotho. And during these workshops, the change project ideas were conceptualized, and the change projects that people decided on addressed workplace and national challenges related to the economy, the curriculum, health, lifestyle, and the environment. So there was that variety or diversity of change projects. Second slide, please. Back. Okay. This workshop was very important because before the workshop, there was an environmental scan that was undertaken, And this environmental scan revealed that majority of teacher educators are not that knowledgeable about ESD. Others didn't even know about ESD at all. And majority of them didn't know about the existing policies that guide practice, whether in their institution or at national level or at international level. So they didn't know much about the existing policies that talks about ESD. So the in-country workshop became very important because it exposed teacher educators to ESD concepts, and it also assisted them to recognize the existing policies that guides ESD in schools. Because as teacher educators, they need to know what is happening in schools so that they align themselves with those policies. The highlight, this highlighted the need for institutional ESD policies, because the environmental scan also highlighted that there is no institutional policy on ESD in all the participating institutions. So this workshop was very important. There were challenges because after the workshop, there was an intensive workshop that was supposed to take 2 weeks held at Rhodes in South Africa for these 3 countries. But this did not happen because immediately after the Lesotho workshop, even the South African workshop couldn't take off because there was COVID-19 and followed by the lockdowns by the nations. So it wasn't easy. So the workshop failed. So, however, this came with an opportunity, which is the greatest highlight of the 2020, because that is when an online course was developed. And another highlight was that all participants were given an opportunity to enroll for the course, unlike with their predecessors whereby only the change project team leaders were to take, to enroll and register, not to enroll, but to go to the workshop for the course for that 2 weeks. But here now everybody had an opportunity to participate in the course. And another unintended benefit for doing this online was that participants were exposed to online meeting platforms, and they further adopted this in their work-related activities during COVID-19 lockdown. People were able to participate in Zoom meetings, webinar sessions, the online course, and while they were supposed to develop their own courses on their learning management systems, they were now having light on how to go about it. So it became a plus. Another challenge was that because of COVID-19 lockdowns and restrictions, the change projects, most of the change projects that required collaboration with students couldn't take off. And even those that have started couldn't succeed because of the COVID-19 lockdowns. But an opportunity that came with that also was that there were cluster meetings that were formed alongside the webinar sessions to train people on ESD. And during these cluster meetings, the teams from all these countries had an opportunity to share their challenges related to their change projects and to the course itself. This helped because some of the institutions had time to review their change projects, and some of them even changed their change project ideas altogether, and that was good. Successful change projects. I'll talk only about the change projects in Lesotho, I'm sorry. The LCEE-CE team managed to review their certificate in early childhood education curriculum to integrate ESD. This was possible because the curriculum review was already on the pipeline. And again, the curriculum review didn't require them to have students around them. So even during lockdown, they could still continue with their work. So they managed to do what they intended to do as their change project. And the curriculum is reviewed, and it went through all the processes until it was validated by all the stakeholders involved, and it is now implemented. The LCE Tabazaga campus, which is at the mountainous areas of Lesotho, some 180 kilometers away from Maseru, developed a small botanical garden. But processes are underway for expansion. That is the interesting part. What they did is small because the students were not there at the time, but the team itself tried, can you move the slide, please? Tried to do something. But what is underway is the most important one. This is the team working. They started by identifying the medicinal plants available on campus, because their change project was to develop the botanical garden in order to address the issue of loss of biodiversity by preserving those by planting them and finding more from outside and planting them on their botanical garden. So this is where they were working towards that. They are clearing the land. They are planting more, some of these plants that they found and more that they found from elsewhere. What is big about their project is that the program helped them to see the opportunities around them, because they have now formed a strong synergy with ministerial departments such as the Department of Environment and that of Forestry and Range Management. They are talking with officers from those departments, and these officers from these departments, together with the team, are going to help one another to secure a bigger piece of land where they can establish a bigger botanical garden. And the officers have also promised that they will take the team out to some other native places to find more plants and to provide some information and expertise about how to take care of these plants and to plant this. So, okay, and also to protect the area once the botanical garden is established. Another success story is with the change project that was done by the Lesotho Agricultural College. The Department of Consumer Sciences team managed to work with their students. Unlike in other institutions, the LSE, even during lockdown, they still allowed some students to stay on campus, those that wanted to stay there in order to access the internet and the resources. So they worked together with that group to plant variety of herbs. And this team is so enthusiastic that they continue to nurture this activity by increasing their variety and doing more, and working with more departments in whatever they are doing in order to share the expertise within the department, because LSE is located at a place where there are a lot of departments, agricultural departments, for agriculture, forestry, and so they have a lot of expertise around them. So they are able to expand. So the herbs were later processed and used in food preparation. And the students themselves were engaged in research.
Sorry, Makamahelo.
All right,
sorry,
okay.
Sorry, you should be wrapping up. I'm sorry, we had some disturbance in the beginning, but please try to wrap up so that we can also have Sirka.
Okay. I'm about to wrap up. Okay, can you? Okay, this is the first picture on the slide is the biochar that they developed from Orondo Donax, because they have a lot of Orondo Donax around them. So they wanted to use this as manure for their herbs. So the second one, they were cutting the bottles so that they can plant other herbs in the bottles where they can take care of them, put them inside or just outside their offices. And okay, you can move on. That is the plant. That is what some of some other plants were planted around the buildings where they could be taken care of easily. And the last slide shows the processed herbs now ready for use. They are already using them in their kitchen. Move on. And other successes that came as a result of this program is that people participated in the course and they completed the course. There are some members who were able to complete the course and they will be certificated in due course. And even those who were not able to finish in time, they joined the completion challenges that were conducted by Vilma, and now they have completed the course, and that is the plus. On that also, I want to mention that there was the person who joined the program much later than others, but he was the first one to complete the course at the right time. So this means it doesn't matter when you start, but you will definitely finish if you are enthusiastic with what you are doing. Other successes that came with this is that because there is this ESD team at Lesotho College of Education, ESD now forms one of the goals in the newly developed strategic plan 2022-2027, because now, because of the program, the SST programs, there are a lot of people now who knows about ESD, who understand ESD, and who can work towards integrating ESD into the curriculum and other activities. So ESD policy is also underway, as I've mentioned that these institutions of higher learning do not have ESD policy. So Lesotho College of Education is in the process now of developing a policy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Makamahelo. From the baseline, you can see colleagues from the baseline, she shared that from the baseline, very few people knew about ESD. But today, if we go to Lesotho today, we are now working towards institutional policies and national policies of strategy on ESD. I think that's very important to remember. It's through the work that they've been doing. And again, she's emphasized teamwork, learning in communities of practice, allowing other people to join you, even if you are halfway through. The whole idea is to make sure that almost everyone understands and get to participate in ESD activities. Thank you so much. I hope you're going to share that. It can be very useful to write report. Tiffany as well. Those are rich experiences that you are sharing. Thank you so much. Sirka, I'm now with you. You've got exactly 12 minutes. So that will leave another 3 minutes. Over to you.
Struggling to send. I don't know why my PowerPoint is still uploading since, and it's only at 50%. So I'm just going to summarize what is on my PowerPoint.
Yes,
if that's okay.
Talk over it, then you can share it
I
later.
can still definitely one prevent have it. He can share it with everybody. I type it too large, even though I remove something. Yeah. Nevertheless, I think my experiences are not as explicit as what were shared by the two colleagues, which is fine because I think a different angle is always good. But my presentation was titled Stories of Change 2019 Cape ESD. And said by Charles, in 2019, 3 countries that participated were Botswana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. And of course, the process that we took on 3 key phases. So the first is where we have a days in-country workshops, which means 1 in Namibia, 1 in Botswana, and 1 in Zimbabwe.
Sorry,
And then we had a
Sirka.
10 days advanced course.
Hello, Sirka. Hi.
Yes, Priven.
Could
Yes,
you go a
Priven.
little bit
Hi.
slower? Hi. Yes. Can you go a little slower, please, in your presentation, just for the interpretation to also be at pace? So just a slower pace.
I don't know whether I know how to go slower, but so we had three phases. So one was, I said, the country workshops, 1 in Namibia, 1 in Botswana, and 1 in Zimbabwe. And those that happened at Rhodes, and I think we were actually
your connection is also very bad.
Sirka, are you moving?
Sorry, Sirka, your connection is bad. Could you try to alter your connection?
So between going slow and connection, nothing is working.
Even before you went slow, your connection was not really very good.
Yeah, the network is slow.
Okay, since I'm not sharing screen, let me just quickly try to go through my phone. My goodness, I think it's working.
Okay, thanks, Sirka.
Charles, sorry about your 12 minutes. I will try to summarize.
It's fine now. You can maybe continue.
I'm trying to link onto my phone now because I don't want to be moving in between devices.
But
it's clear now. It has improved a lot, sir.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So then we say happened in we were actually the most advantaged group, I think, of this SST, in the sense that we were able to go on a 10-day face-to-face course to Rhodes University because 2019 was prior to the pandemic. So we had 10 days of intensive engagement, and this 10 days was actually for the 3 countries, Botswana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. And then after the 10 days course, we then had what we call peer review meetings. So just to give a bit of summary of those 3 phases. So the first phase, which was the in-country workshops, happened between March and 2019 in the 3 countries. And for Namibia, for example, we had close to 30 participants in that very workshop because we had participants from different teacher education institutions. And the primary objective of the workshop was just to start developing a shared understanding on the context of ESD in Namibia, and of course, trying to initiate change projects and also discussing the implementation process of the project. And then in that very workshop, this particular workshop or throughout the ST program, and some that the participants highlighted were, for example, needed in an understanding on the concept of ESD, and also to know and their ESD of practice. Some expressed that they wanted to gain an understanding on how to integrate ESD in technical subjects in TVET. Others want to know how to become innovative when it comes to implementation of ESD. And others were very explicit in wanting to understand how IK, for example, can inform ESD practices. So there were quite a lot of expectations, but those were just some of them. And in terms of the 10 days advanced workshop in Grahamstown or at Rhodes University, this one was a very interesting one because in the in-country works, we had quite a lot of participants. But for the 10 days advanced course, we were only expected to have 30 institutions participating. And these are 30 institutions from Botswana, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. So these countries have to, or these participants had to go through a rigorous application process where they had to complete an application, get endorsement from their institution, motivate on their change projects, and then through that process, the 30 participants were then nominated. And in total, participants from Namibia, about during the 10 days really is that were then supported to develop a good understanding of what a change project involves and how they can reflexively review and evaluate their change project ideas. And how that was done through the 5-step planning program, which Angola and Mozambique are also going through as part of the process. And then what we also did as part of 10 days advanced course to support the participants with their change project ideas was to follow on a strategy of poster development, which means the participants were expected to develop a poster, which they developed at the beginning of the course, and then they had to review in between the course, and then again review at the end of the course, like at the end of the 10 days course. And the outcome of this course really was that there was deep analysis on how the participants, for example, initially understood the matters of concern in terms of ESD. They also had a stronger engagement with the SDGs, and of course, a deeper engagement with assessment as well as with transformative learning and evaluation. So I had a few pictures to just show what was happening in the 10 days course that you will see on the PowerPoint. And then there were also just a list of some of the institutions that participated. So I'm also not going to mention those, but you can see them on the slides. And then, like I said, after the 10 days workshop, when we went to our countries, then had what we call peer review meetings. Those were like after the course meetings, where participants were supported by the regional reference group members to continue working on their change projects. And peer review meetings also involved regular communications between reference group members, as well as the change project leaders and their communities of practice. And the peer review meetings also then included some review workshops where participants reported on each other's progress, and then they were also given feedback on how to improve their change project. So the key questions that participants were working with during the peer review meetings were the 5 questions. For example, they needed to talk about what they did that particular month, who was involved, what was the progress that they made on their change project, what were some of the challenges that they experienced. And then they also mentioned what they learned and how that they have learned was going to improve their practice going forward. So those were very exciting moments because, like I said, it really gave us platforms to continuously monitor and evaluate the progress that the different participants from different institutions are making. And then what I have is just 2 slides that were showing some of the change projects that were done in Namibia, particularly, obviously accompanied by some pictures. I'm not going to get into those. But in summary, when I spoke to these participants, I needed them to understand at the moment what were some of the lessons that have learned from this whole process. And some of the lessons that the participants have learned included things like they are now aware that teachers and teacher educators are critical stakeholders in the implementation and dissemination of ESD programs. They are also now aware that involvement of youth, especially learners in decision making, is very critical to ESD. They also have learned that partnerships and networks are critical for ESD implementation, and they also acknowledge the approach, the whole school approach, is necessary to promote the achievement of ESD goals. They have realized that there is a need for clear guidelines and policies on ESD in the school and also in teacher education curriculum. They have acknowledged the participatory methodology, which is relevant for ESD. And they also noted that transformative learning really leads to quality education. But of course, they did say that if we can support our student teachers very well, they have the ability and creativity to develop creative teaching aids from local or recycled materials, which makes teaching and learning easier and also interesting. And they have lastly also acknowledged that engaging communities in ESD enhances quality and relevance of education through indigenous knowledge. Can you still hear me?
Loud and clear.
Can you still hear me?
Yes,
okay, great.
Yes.
Then in terms of successes, the participants noted a lot of successes or achievements that have achieved through part of the SST program. So the first one, for example, is that one of the participants said they have contributed and participated in policy dialogues, particularly in the Namibian national policy development and action plan development, and as probably our participants is the first country in SADC to have an independent standalone ES policy. So some of our participants were actually key in participating to finalizing that policy document, but also in developing the action plan for that policy which we have launched earlier this year. Of course, others also say they have scaled some of ESD activities, and they have also said they are also participated in other platforms related to ESD at national, regional, so at global level, some in person, but mostly virtually, obviously because of the era we are in. And some successes also are that students are now taking part in ESD projects, and they are also now very aware of critical sustainability issues. And they have acknowledged now that one of the successes is that they all partners and new networks. They say that some of these networks are now very useful for them to use as moderators for the exams, as well as examiners for their master's PhD students' thesis. And they also say that they are also using these networks as curriculum reviewers as they are reviewing their own university or teacher education curricula. So I think that is really a plus, that now we have these networks that we are utilizing beyond just the ESD change projects. But other successes, one of the colleagues from the TVET has completed an ESD leadership course. So after the SST program, he was inspired to another challenge of an ESD in leadership course, which he successfully completed. And then others are now busy contributing to the UNESCO book that Charles and colleagues are putting together. The other participants have started writing book chapters. And then, of course, they have also acknowledged that, for example, one that they have benefited now is knowing that their students are really now using recycled materials to make good quality teaching aids. Future plans, what the participants in Namibia particularly said is that they are very keen in their project, whether it's now to other departments, other schools, or other subject areas. They are also very keen on introducing new change projects because now they are aware of change project. One further network with other relevant stakeholders on ESD, and there is one who is particularly interested in wanting to take up a PhD in ESD, of course, a scholarship challenge. So there are many other future plans that are on the slide, which I think the colleagues from Mozambique and Angola can also read once I share the slide. And then on the second last slide, I had just shared some of the evaluation codes from the participants themselves, their own voices, what they have learned. And that have led me to the last slide, which is saying then what are the stories of change? So what the stories of change are in Namibia, particularly, even though, yes, I did speak in Botswana and Zimbabwe as well, as much as I didn't capture their stories, but somehow there is a bit of resonance. So in principle, what they are really saying, the stories of change, is that what they now have is that they now have the ability to engage with the SDG, especially the content of Target 4.7. They are also saying how they have ability to engage more reflexively with policy, and they are able to identify and focus on the policies for review, especially policies related to ESD in teacher education, as well as the broader schooling system. And other stories of change is that they are now very appreciative of how to engage with heritage culture, as well as the relationship between science and culture, as well as how to integrate IK practices in their curriculum. So you will see that one of the changes, I know I didn't delve into the different change projects that were done in Namibia, but one of them was really looking at how we can, for example, mitigate human and wildlife conflicts using IK practices. And that's one of our exciting ongoing successful change project. So it will be interesting for the Angola and Mozambique participants to really I think get info on that when they see my slides. And then, of course, one of the stories of change is that now, of course, they also appreciate the need for collaboration and when it comes to formal education systems, as well as between student teachers and broader communities. And there are also now content that they are to reflect deeply in terms of their change project processes in relation to ESD, the sustainable development issues, as well as the 21st century skills. And lastly, they are now able to show high level of reflexivity when it comes to their own practices, especially in relation to ESD. So I will leave it there, Charles. I hope that was useful, even though it was a little bit rushed. But like I said, I'm happy to share my 18 slides with the participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sirika. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I had to push you. That's how life is. But thank you so much. You've given us the depth and the richness of the physical course. at the same time, you've also given us the disadvantages of that because it focuses on few people. So colleagues, you've been exposed through these 3 experiences, the richness of the SST in the first 9 countries. So a lot of lessons learned, and we hope you'll take advantage of those lessons. From our side, I'm sure we've been learning as we've been doing this. As I said before, the support that we're giving now to 2021 countries was different from that we gave to 2020 countries, simply because we'd learned quite a lot. And as we speak, we seem to be seeing that there's a lot of advantage in hybrid. And Hela has already dispatched the ROS team to Eswatini, Malawi, and Tanzania to support, in addition to the online learning, to support them physically as well. And we hope to be doing the same thing with Mozambique and Angola. So thank you very much. Let me now attend to question and answer. I have 2 questions from Marcus Vasco, who says, I've translated, my translation may not be the best. What policies, and these questions are for you, the reference group members, what policies did you use to find funds for these projects? She's wondering, with these nice, good change projects, did you have extra funding? And if you had extra funding, how did you get that funding? I don't want to answer this question because you are the right people. Makamahelo, Tiffany, Sirka, all these beautiful change projects, where did you get funding from? And what policy did you use if you got that funding? Who is coming first?
Okay, Charles.
Yes.
There were no funds for these change projects. They used available resources to do what they could. So there were no funding at all.
So you hear that, my Vasco? There's no extra fund for a change project. These are people who are working on their practice at their institution to the best of their ability with the resources that they have. And in most cases, we encourage as people embark on change projects, don't think big beyond your resources. In most cases, changes in transformation that are sustainable are those transformations that you do yourself with the willingness that you have, with the community practice that you build, bringing more and more people, transforming your practice for a bigger impact. So the question is clear. There were no additional funds other than the funds that was put into this by UNESCO and ROS to just initiate these workshops. Then a second question is, I saw there are communities involved. In my interpretation, could be a community in terms of institution-community relationship or community of practice. And she said different age groups. If you see even the previous video that we showed the other day of the river rescue, there were so many different age groups. Then the question is, how many workshops should a change project have? I think I read the question well. Before I come back to you, Tiffany, I know you want to respond to the first question. You may also respond with this one. How many do you have a number to say each change project should have a minimum of these workshops? That's your question, because she's so amazed to see that you bring in people of different age groups in the change project. So she's worried about the number of workshops. And the question was tied to the first one of money. So she said there's no money. Who can respond to this one?
I think, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Tiffany.
Yes, I didn't get the second one well because of I think the sound was breaking, but for the one that Vasco gave, I think is, what I would say is same thing as the Lesotho colleague said, that there are no funds, and that's the problem, the challenge that we had during the beginning of the whole program, because you remember I said in September, that's when the institutions submitted their ideas of change projects. And for most of them, their ideas were too ambitious, projects that would entail injecting a lot of funds, which they didn't have. So what we had to emphasize is the fact that you're supposed to be creative enough to come up with initiatives that will address the issues that you are facing, but within the limited resources that you have. And my argument was always that, of course, most people emphasize on, no, we need funding, but you can only attract funding if you come up with something that is novel. That whatever change project you have, if it's something that is attractive, if it's something that is relevant, that speaks to addressing real issues that are happening, then probably you have chances of getting funding will be there. And I have an example from Malawi where one of the change projects is already attracting some funders because of the way it was, but they started with nothing. So what we encourage, we encouraged each other is to come up with ideas from the little or nothing that you have. And so it is more about how creative one is than the resources that you have. So the resources will follow after. When people see the fruits of whatever change project you have come with, it will attract other people. And of course, as has been said by the other colleagues, the issue of collaboration and teamwork also does work, because especially for issues like those that were involved in, for example, reforestation, there was need for seedlings and everything else. So by networking with organizations that deal with environment and those that deal with afforestation, they were able to link up with them and get free resources. So I think as institutions, you can work, and you can also eye others that you can who have the same vision that you have, just to benefit from whatever resources they have. But otherwise, for resource, in terms of resource base, you work with what you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, she wrote, maybe we can have translation here. Antonio, can you read on Vasco's question? I'm going to the English translation. If you can read to us. Hello? Yes, Surika, you're breaking, but I can hear you. No, I can't hear you anymore. Thanks, Tiffany. Thank you so much for opening up that to say, start with the little that we have, or the nothing that you have. I like that. Then maybe as you widen your network, you can get support. And with the examples, they've given us an example in Malawi, with another example here in Zimbabwe, that have attracted other communities of practice that have resources to support that project. Okay, so she followed up a question, and I'm going to pose it again. It says, thank you very much for the answers. And the community I referred to in question 2 was the non-student community. And if all the participants were students, it is all outdated. What she's saying is, how many workshops, the question was on workshops, how many workshops would you need if you bring in communities? Maybe, do we have a defined number, or, okay, who would want to speak to that? Or what is your experience?
I think there isn't.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
Yeah, no, I think from my side, I would say there is no prescription on how many yes. workshops one would have. I think it depends on the reception of the community, because if they're enthusiastic about it and if they are quick to catch whatever vision you have, then you might not need as many as, and yes. Also the idea of how much resources you have, the nothings and the little that you have. And yes. As I already said, with communities and with workshops, again, it's the link that you have with them. So you have community leaders that you can work through. It saves a lot, because in terms of organization and everything else, they will do more of the things, and they're better placed at organizing those things than you would. So they might, if you have that good relationship, you might just talk with them, and then they will organize everything and just invite you, because whatever initiative or whatever ideas you're bringing are to benefit them as a community. So you come in as a resource person rather than trying to steer everything on yourself with the little resources that you have.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. I think she's hearing that there's no predetermined number of workshops. You will be planning with them and you go ahead with them and so forth. So the number of workshops will be determined by the need that you have. Colleagues, we are more than 10 minutes after time. I've got an announcement. I want to end with this announcement from Vilma. Vilma is saying the technical session that we're supposed to have today has been moved to Tuesday next week at 1400 hours. So there's no more technical session today, but it has been moved to Tuesday, next week Tuesday. Tuesday is Martes, 1600 hours. And she will be there with Marisa and Victoria. And the link will be shared. Again, we'll be using a lot of the WhatsApp group for sharing links and so forth and the emails. So thank you so much, colleagues. I don't know whether Hela is with us. Any final words? Before I forget, colleagues, we've been given an extension to submit those who want to participate in the ESA conference, which is happening in Namibia. Circa is one of the people who are organizing that. So they've gladly given us an extension to submit our proposal by Friday, next week, Friday the 10th. So if you have a proposal that you've been thinking, if you have a paper that you want to present, please submit the proposal by Friday, the 10th of June next week. If you go to the ESA website, Environmental Education Association of Southern Africa, you'll see that the email is there, then you submit your proposal. Thanks very much to Sirika and their team, Professor Alex, they have given us an extension. Anything else? Hela, are you in the room? Patience, closing remarks?
I am.
Yes,
to
Hela,
say thank you so much to the RGMs, the reference group members. It's so lovely to hear the stories from across the countries and also to see that the change doesn't stop. It keeps going on. And I think the discussion about the resources, Tiffany dealt with it so nicely. We always encourage people to develop change projects in the system of resources that they have access to, because otherwise often what happens is the change projects just don't work. So it's better to have a change project with what you can do and then to look for resources from there than to wait for resources and not have a change project. So I think that was a very important discussion. Thank you very much for it. And just to see the amazing change projects that have been done is just so encouraging. So thank you very much to the reference group members, and Agua, we will still get you to present that change project of yours as soon as we can sort out the technical issues. Thank you to everybody's patience. Thank you to Antonio. It's quite a challenge for us to get our connections working very well all of the time. I think everybody knows that, but thank you for the patience. And I think we are doing okay. So thanks, Charles, as well to you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Hela. Thank you also all presenters, Silka, Mekamelo, and
Tiffany.
And Tiffany. Thank you all. I just want to underscore the fact that from the beginning, we should be thinking about documenting our change projects and recording how we are making progress, because as time goes on, we want to write a report or do a video of your successful change project. So from the beginning, if you know what you are going to be working on, begin to record, how it was at the beginning and the processes, and finally what you are getting out and upscaling. So thank you, everyone, and happy weekend.
Thank you,
Thank you, Previn. Nice to see you, that you are back.
Thanks, everyone.
Previn, I hope you are feeling well. Thank you very much, Previn and Zandi.
Thanks, Charles.
Hello.
Bye.
Bye. Happy weekend. Thank you, Antonio, for the struggle today.